Hi everyone, I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. Uh, I am week 5 into house hunting and no success so far, but I have hope. So, this week had a lot going on. We had a very, very successful Albanese government, lot of wins. We're going to see how that takes over into the Senate, but I think this is a really, really good sign of what good government looks like. And even the newspapers, by and large, can't find anything to really attack Albo on. So their approach is more, they see Albo as being productive. So they're going to interview every LMP member possible to say anything negative. So if you're seeing them interview a hell of a lot of LMPs still, it's because that's their way of saying, well, I can't directly attack Albo, but they can. And that's the messaging that we're hearing. I think it's a bad play because it shows bad faith still. And I think that this is why we're going to have to, pardon me, still have a Murdoch Royal Commission. For instance, this shouldn't be something that media does. Media shouldn't be finding a way to be attacking any side of government unless it's doing something wrong. But they're clearly a partisan lot of media. They're clearly right leaning. They've clearly chosen their horse to ride or die with. And this is it. I want to say that I expected things to change after the election. There was a tiny part of me that was like, they're going to right the ship right. They're going to fix the way that they've been behaving. No, it was a delusion of grandeur on my part where I thought in this big brain moment that the ship had been righted and therefore they'd move along with the ship. No. Media is what it's been doing, and it's not telling you what's going on. It's more just attacking and staying the course of doing so. So we're going to talk about all of that and more, and how many wins the ALP got this week, and how the feeling is on some of the legislation that was passed, some US stuff. And I hope you enjoy the show. So, first up, we have, I found this cute little thing on Twitter from a couple of Labor people. If you haven't seen this, oh, it is good. Okay. Oh, hold on. Is that the first one or this? No, there it is. There's a first one. So this celebrates. Oh, hold on. Started before I needed it to. This celebrates where the positive nature of where we're at right now. I think this is a good way to slide in to show you this is the sort of stuff that the media should be picking up on the positive side of government. And here it is.
Hi, I'm Sally Situ, the member for Reid, and I'm with
Dan Bacali, member for Hunter.
And the House has just adjourned after a fortnight of parliamentary sittings. So we are here, the long and the short of it, to give you a brief update of what has happened. So what was the best thing about this fortnight, Dan?
Highlight for me me, Sally, was definitely the domestic violence bill going through, the 10 days paid domestic violence leave, and also the aged care, the very first bill that we put through. So the aged care bill to me is a massive part in our electorate. What about yourself, Sally?
Fantastic. Well, for me, it had to be my maiden speech, which I delivered on Tuesday night last week. Very emotional, having my parents in the gallery. It was the first time they've been in Parliament House and they got to watch their daughter give her first speech, and also the passing of the climate change bill through the House of Representatives today.
Congratulations on your first speech as well.
You.
Yes, it was very good to
And
hear.
when's yours coming up?
Mine will be coming up in week 4, the 4th sitting week. So, but we'll confirm that during the next few weeks.
Fantastic. And what was the weirdest thing about this fortnight?
Weirdest thing for me was how long we had to wait at the trough when so many people were waiting to eat at 1 o'clock. What's the weirdest thing for you?
The weirdest thing was playing touch football on the Senate lawn, seeing Minister Wells go in to tap the Prime Minister, and we still don't know if he scored the try or not. So, weirdest thing for me.
Some say it's controversial, others say the Prime Minister scored. I think the Prime Minister scored personally.
I agree.
Very good. Well, I've got a gift for you from something from the Hunter. So this is what the Hunter is best known for, Semillon. Semillon, it is one of the Hunter Valley's premium wines, and it's exported all over the world. So we have a fantastic wine industry in the Hunter Valley. Some would say the best in the...
Okay, so there's part 1, and there is, thankfully, a part 2. Okay, so let's show you part 2. And this is how, to be clear, government is. It's very positive. It's very, very part of being who represents us. This is what you voted for. You voted for positivity and change and climate action and so much more. And I think that that's why this is such great stuff. What we're seeing now.
Very good. Well, I've got a gift for you from something from the Hunter. So this is what the Hunter is best known for, Semillon. Semillon, it is one of the Hunter Valley's premium wines, and it's exported all over the world. So we have a fantastic wine industry in the Hunter Valley. Some would say the best in Australia. I would even go as far as saying the best in the world. So here you go.
Oh, I can't wait to try it. Thank you very much.
No worries at all.
And I've got a couple of little somethings from Reed. This is from a little store, Rams. It's a Sri Lankan and Indian food store. They make heaps of amazing food, but these are some snacks that I was able to bring over to Canberra and travel well. So give this a little try. Put that in your hand, and then
straight in.
Straight in. And this one is my favourite. It's made with besan flour, so it's a savoury snack as well.
2 hours later.
Too many nuts. What is this one called?
This is called Maruku. I think I butchered that, but Rams is just
Maruku.
a fantastic store in Homebush West.
Very nice. I think that would go very well with the Scarborough Semillon. Very tasty indeed.
So that's how Parliament now looks. These are the people that I feel like are representing you and me and the whole nation very well. I think it shows that there is a change in the air. There's a calm, and I think of it like this. The hair on fire moments are over. No longer do we have to worry like we used to. In a few short months, it's turned into more of a let's get back to living our lives and being a little bit less concerned that there is a tyrannical government in hand. And if you're wondering why I say that, is because the Liberal Party does follow the same ethos as the Republican Party in the States. Now, if you're thinking, well, how? Well, recently it was revealed that they're taking a lot of cues from authoritarian leaders around the world. One of them is the leader of Hungary. And it's no surprise to me that they're, with Sky News mantle, trying to capitulate to this whole idea of what they think it should look like. They're after a dystopia, and I can't understand for the life of me why they think free speech needs to be gone, or women's rights, or attacking gay and trans communities, or our First Nations people. That is their culture war. That's all they have, is a culture war, shock and awe. I can attack you just because. And then they help out their rich buddies. That's how they think running the nation is. And it was such a horrible way of doing things that it became so contentious that I sort of didn't know what to do with it. Oh, well, that pen's gone. Okay, so next we have Alvo's message on aged care. Now, if you didn't see this week, hold on. Right. Why can't StreamYard find a better way of doing this? Okay, so we will see. No. Okay, here we go. This is how I think we need to see more of this sort of stuff.
Today is Aged Care Employee Day. To all our aged care workers out there, thank you. You do incredible work, but you deserve more than just thanks. You deserve a government that backs you. And that's why next week we'll be making a submission to the Fair Work Commission to support a pay increase for aged care workers in line with what the Royal Commission said was necessary. You take care of the great Australians who built this country, and my government has your back.
So that's where we are. Okay. I'm still going to play. Okay, so that's a very positive message from our Albo, but I want to run with this theme of being positive because I really, really think that this is the best time in our lives, even if it doesn't feel like all the fires have been put out yet and that there is still a lot of mess that the ALP have to clean up. Fundamentally true. You're not going to wind back 9 years of, nearly 10 years of what the LNP did to the nation. That's going to take some doing. I want to tell you that you know, this stuff is all fixable, you know, overnight, and that we're not going to have this huge battle on our hands. But I've never been known to lie to you before. Why would I begin now? So, I want to give you an indication of what I believe is the Guardian's best wrap-up of the week in politics.
This time tomorrow, your business could prosper with a small business loan. Visit prosper.com.
After more than a decade of the climate wars in Australia, Labor has finally passed their climate change bill through the House of Reps.
Some people have made themselves irrelevant to that process.
Labor secured the deal with the support of the Greens, though they weren't too happy about it, as the bill still allows new coal and gas mines to be open.
So the next time there are fires, the next time there are floods, when we see the Great Barrier Reef bleaching next, know that that is what Labor's targets are all about.
Bridget Archer broke ranks with the coalition and crossed the floor to support Labor's bill, as the opposition has so far refused to vote in favour of it.
It is important that we do move forward and we act now.
The climate bill won't actually reach the Senate for months, but the fact that it's passed the House with the Green support could signal the climate wars are finally coming to an end.
Climate wars may or may not be over, but they're certainly in retreat.
It capped a week of history-making moments, with Anthony Albanese making a landmark speech at the Garma Festival in Arnhem Land, outlining his proposition to change the Constitution to enshrine an Indigenous voice to Parliament.
But a body with the perspective and the power and the platform to tell the government and the Parliament the truth about what is working and what is not.
He spoke on the wording of a possible referendum question, which will ask if there's support for changing the Constitution.
A straightforward proposition, a simple principle, a question from the heart.
For now, the Prime Minister won't be announcing a date for a referendum, but he has pledged to hold a vote in his first term.
I am absolutely sure that we can.
David Pocock put the boots back on for a parliamentary touch footy match before he delivered a climate warning in his first Senate speech.
The sixth mass extinction event is underway. The last one 66 million years ago was due to a massive asteroid. This time, we're causing it.
But the standout moment belonged to Green Senator Lydia Thorpe.
To the colonising Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Senator Thorpe.
The former Prime Minister Scott Morrison made it back to Parliament in time for the second week. He put on a brave face from the backbench, as my colleague Mike Bowers captured, but he doesn't seem too thrilled with his new position. Morrison still won't tell us whether or not he was paid to speak at the Conservative conference in Japan he missed Parliament for, and his colleagues won't say if he should. Guess that's an on silence matter then. And with so many major issues being raised in the Parliament, cost of living, climate, COVID, it was good to see the coalition zero in on what really mattered.
I note the Prime Minister's long and close association with the lawless and criminal CFMEU.
The CFMEU.
The CFMEU.
Of the CFMEU,
Let's be fundamentally clear. There was an inquiry into that. If you want to run that, fine. But if you want to be stupid, the idea is, let's be clear about this fundamentally. Remember when you couldn't wait to have the moment of having the CFMEUs raked over the coal fire for an inquiry where you had the media at the doorstep of this raid? You know, the one that Michaelia Cash swore they didn't tip off the media about? Oh, yeah, that thing. If this is all they got, congrats, buddy. You're a failure.
CFMEU.
And when Greens MP Max Chandler Mather raised that 163,000 people are on wait lists for public housing, the LNP once again went straight to the heart of what people really cared about. Ties. Or more specifically, the one the Griffith MP wasn't wearing.
Mr. Speaker, I draw your attention to the state of undress of the member.
Resume your seat. Resume your seat. There's not a point of order.
And after opposing everything on the climate bill, including the amendments, the coalition says it's going to look at its own climate solution, nuclear, a technology it passed on while in government, but now in opposition, things are apparently different.
Putting the member for Fairfax in charge of a review on nuclear power bears an uncanny resemblance to Mr. Burns putting Homer Simpson in charge of nuclear power safety.
The independents are settling into the Parliament, not only making amendments to the climate bill, but also giving dressing downs to the opposition. Monique Ryan came up with this quip when she was interrupted while asking about long COVID.
Put your masks on.
So that's the first sitting done and dusted. The MPs are heading back to their electorates and won't be back until the next joint sitting on the 5th of September. By then, everyone should be a little more comfortable with the new normal, although some seem to be adjusting to it a little easier than others.
My title is Deputy Speaker. I don't need a Mr., a Mrs., a Madam. It's just Deputy Speaker.
I'll go with
you.
Deputy Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, meanwhile, those opposite, get rid.
He's an idiot. I mean, they can't even have a cohesive conversation in their own party. They're just turning into the Mr. No party again. They're debating, the referendum. It's a no. They're debating climate change. No. It's Tony 2.0 just on a whole party look. This isn't going to work. It's not popular. They lost an election because of this kind of unpopularity, this level of, I can just say no. You bring something to the table and it's no. It could be something that they really, really want. Like, I don't know, a big tax break party for the rich, and they'd still go, nope. It's a weird moment that we're living in. You have weird moments like this. Let me show you this image. This isn't just funny for some reason. It's funny for every reason. When I looked at it, I thought this perfectly encapsulates what happens when a wannabe dystopian government loses power in the weirdest way. Or StreamYard needs to work out how it shows things, because it's not appearing the way I needed it to. Where is that? Okay, hold on. Is that? Yeah, here we go. Ha ha ha. I knew I would find you. Now I know what it's under. So this is the moment we realised we were in a bit of trouble. You know, they're on holidays, they're sleeping, they're not focused, they don't have anything. None of them are turning up. It's almost as if they're not interested in the job. If they're not rorting and ripping everyone off and attacking the poor, the elderly, and the sick, that's it, they're done. Their work is done. You had ScoMo in a thing at Tokyo, won't admit to whether that was a paid event or not, and then you have moments like this. Look, I don't care what the man does anymore. He's not government, but he's clearly not fit to be the member for Cook. And there is clearly a guy that is running as the Labor counterpart for this. His name is Simon, and I think that he would actually represent the people of Cook. And Barnaby Joyce, my God, how does that man keep winning? New England, figure out your crap and take some time to actually view this horrible, horrible human. I mean, this is who they want to be. I don't understand how they think that this is going to win the public over. It just isn't. But I don't know, it doesn't work the way that they want it to. Okay, next story. So, in the week of abolishing the cashless debit card in the House, I would like to say I think this is a really good part of what is going to be an amazing part of politics, doing what they said that they would do. You have people like Pauline Hanson that have written letters like this. This isn't just a letter, though. This is the letter of hate. So when you view this, you're going to be like, oh, how bad can it be? Wow, have I got something to show you? Hold on. Is there a hotkeys? We'll go. Yeah, it doesn't have a zoom in key. I have to do it like in a weird zooming in that doesn't really show you how well that is. But have a look at her response here. I'm going to blow this up, and when you see the things that she says without it all, I think we got close that time. Okay, so down the bottom here, it goes, this is like a griff for money moment. It starts off with why I'm saying no to passing the voice to the parliament and all this kind of stuff. Then she talks about how the cashless debit card was such a great thing. She goes into this rhetoric that's super duper unhealthy and not productive to our parliament body. And then she has, well, give me money because I'm going to show you. It all begs the question, will the Albanese government guarantee equal funding for both campaigns It is only a fair point. However, one nation will not wait for the Prime Minister's excuse and run a strong campaign against racist, divisive political setback and the entire country. See, she doesn't even know what she's talking about. That's what makes what she's saying so ridiculous. She doesn't have, like, an understanding of even what she's talking about. Every time she opens up her mouth, I get frustrated that I'm like, that's not what any of those things are. What is wrong with you? You try and turning into a voice in Parliament or the cashless debit card into some sort of, I'm going to flip the script and make it sound like I'm not being a horrible racist POS. No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. And here's why it doesn't work. Because it fundamentally, she unravels every time. And it's not even a popular thing. She got in through preferences. She didn't even win on like a popular vote. So if she wants to sit back and pull diatribe like this, go for broke. But I'm telling you now, this is not popular, nor will it ever be. She's lucky that she got where she got. She needs to sit back and just sort of see how the cards play out. But, I mean, here's why they shouldn't really want to push this thing. Because I want them to figure this out. Okay, most crossbenchers back scrapping of the debit card, but flag concerns for participants. Now, here's, I think, is a legitimate concern, is that when the crossbenchers are having a discussion about the cashless debit card, they are having genuine debate about it. They're not doing what Pauline Hanson or the LNP are doing. No, they're genuinely looking at the merits of the case. And the Greens are too. And this is why they want an inquiry into exactly what went wrong with the cashless debit card. And I think the Teals and the Greens are right. And I think that we should support a Senate hearing into the cashless debit card and hear from the people that were directly harmed by this card. 56% of participants that were spoken to about this particular card proved overwhelmingly that it did harm, detrimental harm. And the thing is, they weren't just targeting anyone with an alcohol issue or a gambling issue. No, they were targeting people who didn't have any of those issues. And they were making life fundamentally difficult to pay rent or go to the store or do most things. We're now at a point where it's going to be very difficult for them to justify any of this. You know, the LNP's position is so they're irrelevant as a party. And I think if we're listening to the Teals and the Greens, it's going to make more of a diverse situation. The Greens, Jackie Lambie and David Pocock indicate support for the abolishment of the cashless debit card. Labor's plan to abolish the cashless debit card is set to sail through the Senate when Parliament resumes next month. But the Greens and Jackie Lambie network will use an inquiry to probe potential unintended consequences of the bill's passage. Nearly all the crossbench have indicated support for the government's election commitment, while flagging concerns about the time available for participants to transition off the card and support for affected communities. Labor promised to abolish the cashless debit card. Incoming management quarantines 30% and 80% of welfare payments prevented from being withdrawn, cash used for alcohol or gambling. The proposal will not affect the basics card, a separate management tool used by thousands of welfare recipients in the Northern Territory. Now, that, I believe it should get rid of them all. The fact that the Northern Territory is still sitting on this idea that they can keep it is a sign that they're not handling this real well. The repeal of the bill passed by the House of Representatives on Wednesday and will be considered by the Senate in September it was refused to the Senate inquiry August 26. Shadow Health Minister Anne Ruston, who is also the manager of opposition business in the Senate, accused Labor of disrespect over its urgency in pushing the bill through, calling the repeal an appalling decision. Of course, because any LNP person is going to be just terrible about anything. It's the no government all over again. They don't have anything. Dutton is going to find that he is irrelevant. I think there's going to be another Lib spill, but I digress. Okay, the Green Senators Jackie Lambie and the party mate Tammy Tyrrell and the Independent David Pocock all indicated support for Labor's bill. The government needs 13 crossbenchers support to pass the legislation in the Senate. The Green Social Services spokesman Jane Rice said her party welcomed the end of the cashless debit card, but would use the Senate inquiry to examine the complicated process to end the program. The inquiry will give the Senate a chance to hear from affected communities, particularly First Nation communities, who are disproportionately impacted, she told Guardian Australia. In the introduction of the cashless debit card, we saw poor consultation by the previous government in a result in divided communities where some voices were elevated above the others. For the program to end equitably, we cannot allow this to happen again. Now, keep in mind that the LNP ethos basically runs like this. They do something doesn't work, they push and push and push through anything that they can. So do not think just because they're out of power that these things are on the back burner. We need to legislate it so this can't get a 2.0 reheat, microwavable kind of dinner feel to it. This has all the hallmarks of a damaging part of society. Now, if you think that that's hyperbolic, take a look at the idea that this made them and their buddies a lot of money. And each time they were benefiting from people's harm. This wasn't about fixing alcohol and gambling. This was about skimming off the top of the government program. That's what this was. And to call it anything else would be just downright wrong. So that has a look at why that's such a contentious thing. But I think the Senate, it will pass the Senate, and the abolishment of the cashless debit card will be around September. So that's a very positive overlook when we see that happening. Okay. Now, PR guy had this super interesting look at why the media are fixated on trashing Victoria's health system, despite performance showing why they won't discuss other states. The map reveals the surgery wait times are the darker ones. The blue longer wait in Victoria and Queensland are equal first. Both Lib states last. Now, this is a super good point. While they're manufacturing outrage over how the health system is handling, if you notice, the two bluest states are Liberal. They're the ones that are crashing the most in this moment. So I think that that's going to come around, and I think we're going to see the news won't talk about how the nation is handling the health system, because then they're going to have to discuss that New South Wales and Tasmania are doing quite poorly, and their surgery wait times are astronomical, the worst in the country. That doesn't help the media in their narrative of attacking ALP. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a nationwide issue in the middle of a pandemic, with our healthcare situation. That will be in conjunction, in conjunction of the state and the federal government. I believe that they are on track to fundamentally fixing the partisan breakup of monies distributed to states, which the LNP was intent on rolling around like that. So now that we've discussed that, we will see what is happening in New South Wales. Now we know that Victoria and New South Wales next year will be in election time. That's happening. So I think it's good if we start talking now about what ICAC might be looking at in terms of how they're going to view what happens next with the LNP. Now, there's no doubt that they're super duper corrupt. But just take a look at how dodgy this thing is. Okay. Already you can see that this is bad. This is like a house on fire moment each day for the LNP in New South Wales. I would give this message to Dominic. Your wife has a lot of little babies. You might want to find a new job and quickly. This isn't going well. If you've got something lined up, I would be doing that. This is bad. You're not looking too hot even in the press that's very LNP friendly. Remember when ICAC was looking at Gladys Berejiklian and they're like, oh, but ICAC, it's a witch hunt. It's got to be. Why? Because it looked into your beloved Gladys Berejiklian. When IBAC looked into Dan Andrews, they're like, no, we got to get him. It was like two different moments. You had the Victorian media, the Rachel Baxdale going, we got to get him. IBAC's going to get him. You had New South Wales going, oh, but you can't trust ICAC. How can you trust ICAC? What's wrong with you people? These are independent bodies designed to look at this stuff. And if you've messed with them in some way, oh my word, we're going to find that out. Why did you do it? It was weird. You couldn't hold the same rhetoric. And that's why I do this, because I think that there needs to be more friendly discussions in talking about what's really going on here. Premier Dominic Perrott offered to create a parliamentary trade role for Transport Minister David Elliott as a sweetener for dumping him from the cabinet, and on another occasion also spoke to him about the Agent General position in London, in revelations likely to heap immense pressure on the Perrott's leadership. Febrile atmosphere has taken hold within the government as the Premier enters a politically dangerous sitting week after the furore taken to John Barilaro's New York posting resignation of Deputy New South Wales leader Stuart Ayres for his part in the affair and the sacking of another minister for allegedly bullying staff. And remember, Stuart Ayres was doing the whole, I'm not going to resign. Why would I resign? I didn't do anything wrong. A few hours later, okay, I'm resigning. Nope. The turnabout was so quick. It was, I almost wish I had mashed the two speeches together, played them side by side and went, that's pretty funny. It almost sounded like Josh Frydenberg's, I'm not going to back down. I didn't lose this election. You lost this election, and attacking everyone in the process. And then finally he went with, okay, maybe I lost the election and, and it's all over and done and dusted. Which, so weird that they do this. They have this hold on until you can't. It's a little bit like being on one of them tilter rides, we're not quite strapped in and it's going round and round and round, and you're not prepared to tell anyone yet that you're not strapped in, even though you're hanging out of the ride and stuff's going real bad real fast, but it doesn't matter. You've got your morals. You don't want to say anything. And then as your last little finger has to hold on, you then scream, okay, I've had enough now. I better resign. That's how this is going to play out for Dominic Perrott. Look, I don't dislike the guy. I just think that he's not cut out to be New South Wales Premier. Barilaro, who was forced to withdraw from the $500,000 a year Trade Commissioner role, so now he's out of that. After backlash will appear before a parliamentary inquiry, and the Liberals believe that the former Deputy Premier and Nationals leader has the potential to badly damage the Premier. No. They already damaged themselves. This isn't like... Excuse me. This isn't like they were on their way out kind of thing. This is like the longest moment where a horse has a broken leg and you know that you can't fix it. You know, that's what this moment is. And you're doggy trying to just hold on and say, but wait, we can fix it. And then the tragic thing happens, you know. This is already on its way out. MPs told the Sun Herald of deep unease within the backbench in the ministry over the Premier's handling of the saga. A tussle over whether Elliott or the Treasurer, Matt Keane, will replace Ayres as Deputy Party Leader has also stoked tensions. See, and that's the other thing about this stuff. They get these like LNP sweetheart deals where they can never ever be Prime Minister, but they can be Deputy. And the two entities are like, one can't touch the other directly. So when, for instance, look at it on a federal basis. You had this thing going on with Barnaby Joyce calling his kid a grey area, and a bonking ban was implemented, and we found out about Vicky Campion, and the LNP going, well, that's up for their party to decide if he resigns. Wait a minute, you're a coalition. Why are you pretending like you're all close and running government together, but then suddenly you're two separate entities when it comes down to a scandal like, I don't know, calling your kid a grey area? Have you ever stopped to retract that at all for Sebastian at all, Mr. Joyce? It'll never go away. You can't wash off the ilk of your parties. You can call yourself two separate parties. Hell, I'm sure the Nationals are running around the country now going, I know that it looks bad that there are 20 seats lost. And I know that that's the Liberal Party's problem. Sure, but we're in government with them. Oh yeah, but that's not the point. We're two separate entities. No, that's not how any of this works. You went in together. You were all in bed together. Now we want to know what disease you've given each other in amongst that. Whether it's the one that creates ICAC to come calling or not is yet to be determined. But I can tell you there is definitely something wrong with your party as a whole. You can call them two separate entities, but I'm telling you the bed you shared made it sound very cohesive. Now you've lied in this bed for long enough, and everyone's trying to hop out and go, nah, I don't know who that is. I didn't do that. No, come on. This is funny. This is why Labor doesn't do these weird getting into bed with people. It's comical. It has all the moments of I can never ever do this on my own. You can't do it on your own, because the Nationals would not be popular on a countrywide basis, right? So they're going to, have this staunch moment of we're for the country, we work for you. They do none of the sort. That's not the point. That's what they get to do, and they get to go back to their rural towns and pretend like they're doing it. People in rural towns haven't really noticed that that's not working, and that their conditions are getting worse and worse and worse. That's for another matter. But then you got the Liberals, that are like, we work for you in the city. We're all suave and drink lattes and say no to everything that Labor wants to do. Vote for me. Yeah, okay, bro. And together they make this weird duo where they hop into bed together. And then when it all goes south, it's like, I'm jumping out of this bed. That's a separate party to me. But you're in government. You're all in the same bed. You made this shit show of whatever this is. I don't know why you're trying to jump out of bed now. We're not done. So, a message for the LNP, figure out who you are, and before you try and jump out of bed, figure out why you got into bed with him in the first place. While Perriott has insisted that he had no role in Barrow's appointment, sources with knowledge of the discussions between the Premier and Elliott have confirmed that the Premier this year canvassed 2 trade-related options with the Transport Minister, including a parliamentary secretary position that did not exist. Yeah, that's right. It didn't exist. Yeah. Okay, go with that. So lean into how stupid that part sounds. You just thought that this would be the thing that you would do and no one would notice. This is why ICAC needs to look at you weird people. You did something and I don't even think you realised. I remember hearing the phone calls that Gladys Berejiklian was having, and she was saying, I don't want to know about that, with her little love partner. And she goes, I don't need to know about that. I can bet you there's going to be a lot more phone calls that go that way. Because there is no way in hell that each of them knew what the other arm was doing of this LNP loving fest that now that they want to deny even knowing each other on. I don't know, this is bad. In a statement, Elliott did not dispute that I'm committed to delivering New South Wales Government's infrastructure pipeline and ensuring the public transport delivers first-class services to the people of New South Wales. I have no interest in working overseas again. He's going to go for the federal seat of Parramatta in the May election. Promise Holly MP Melanie Gibbons that should be promoted to cabinet as a replacement if she agreed to abandon her federal ambitions. This is funny for so many reasons. This can't stop being funny. I want to say that the LNP, if they weren't in control of anything, this would be like the classic Three Stooges, you're all idiots, go home, do not pass go, do not collect $200 kind of deal. But they're in positions of power here. Let's not be skewed in exactly who they are. In a non-position of power, I'm all happy to watch it burn. And it's going to burn. This thing has the lifespan of a terrible week and month and set of years. This isn't going to just go away magically. But, okay. Next up, we've got how good government is making it hard for the news. Now, I don't know if you've seen this. I'm doing a lot of the breakdown part where I think it's important to talk about how, I know it's here. So, I need to pull it up 2 ways because, of course, I do. So, governing is back from the dead. It's almost as if the media had forgotten that Albo can do this. And for all the virtue signalling that they want to pretend like he's old or doesn't know this or doesn't know that, it's been very productive for Albo. So they're going to have to go, I'm going to have to tell you that he did what he said he was going to do. Okay. Why didn't you lean into that? Why did you say that he couldn't do all these things, that he couldn't be a prime minister? It looks a little bit like you're backtracking now. I mean, this is weird. Did you know it was going to be weird when you started this little I don't like Albo moment? Or did you not think that we would remember you going, oh no, he got COVID deliberately so he wouldn't have to front up anybody? No, you weirdos, what's wrong with you? He is a very productive leader, and it's weird that we're still having this discussion like this is the new normal. Okay. Matthew Guy apparently had a little I don't know, a little moment of we will have a look at what he was doing out and about this week. Oh my God, this StreamYard thing is starting to bother me. Okay. We will see where that is. I think that's that one. Okay. I can't. Okay. Well, I might have to go back and find it because it doesn't appear to be here. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding it, and it will appear right as I have given up looking. Okay, so we're going to have to go to this. Let's go to Okay, so I found it. Sorry for that, it took a little bit of doing. So Matthew Guy had a meetup of Liberal supporters. I don't think many people were keen to turn up. I think he's tried to use his drink driving charge as some sort of way of talking about how he found out that his friend had cancer, therefore that justifies drink driving. No, that doesn't work. And then he's used his mafia ties to say that, no, I really didn't have those. And it's quite weird that you keep bringing it up. So it's not gone too well for Matthew Guy, and I don't think he's going to find many friends with all of that going on. But, okay. On a last story, I thought that we would discuss this. So, China has severed ties with the US on key issues with Taiwan. Now, this comes after a very ill-advised visit by Nancy Pelosi. Yes, I'm on the left. Yes, I support the left. Yes, there is a moment where I have to come after the left and then do something stupid. This was something stupid. It's not that I don't support Taiwan and its efforts and whatever else. It's just politically, you're just poking a bear when the bear didn't need to be poked. Essentially, that's what happened. And what we found is that it didn't work to have that position. Just going to make sure that you can still, yep. So what this turned into was China said on Friday that it was ending cooperation with the United States on a litany of key issues, including climate change, anti-drug efforts, and military talks in relation to the two superpowers a nosedive over the Taiwan issue. Beijing has reacted furiously to the visit by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the island, which it claimed as its territory, and vowed to retake by force if necessary. Now, here's what I've got an issue with. No, China should not take Taiwan by force, and no, it shouldn't be doing this whole I'm bigger than you kind of thing. But you can't just walk in there all bear-like and pretend like the US is like the biggest arbiter of I get to do whatever I want. There is a very fine diplomatic way of doing this. Now, Democrats typically do stunts. Some of them work, some of them don't. And they're designed to change the narrative around certain topics. What this did, essentially, Nancy Pelosi's visit hasn't been received well for lots of reasons. Even their own Kevin Rudd, very left-wing, very understanding, was like, no, this isn't going to work very well. You're just poking the bear at this point. Why would you poke the bear? Because a war with China and Taiwan isn't going to go well for the rest of the international community. War doesn't even go well for them. Let's think for a moment about why no one should want to see how this ends. This is almost like they didn't learn their lesson of the Vietnam War and they just want to poke their nose in and pretend like they're on the right side of things again. Okay. And Friday starts Foreign Ministry hit back further against the United States, suspending talks and cooperation on multiple agreements between the two, including fighting climate change. Now, the left is very pro-climate change, very pro-working with China, very pro-helping them get to that point. Because, fun fact, China is a big polluter. Whether you're on the left, right, whatever, you have to agree that they've got to come to the table and pollute a little bit less. Well, a lot less. And they are about renewable energies. China does have very good talks on its climate policy. But here's the deal. Now the US has made itself irrelevant. Now we've watched over the past decade the talks over which one will be the biggest superpower, China or the US. And for some weird reason, we've always leaned into the US being the better option. Okay, you did see the Trump era, right? You did see the Bush era, right? Why are we talking about this with insane people? Before anyone says, have I seen China's human rights issues? Of course I did. But it's not even like in the same realm. The US pretended to be this free speech, everything for everyone, and democracy was wonderful. Oh, look at the Republican Party now. It's a authoritarian hotspot. It is begging to be an authoritarian. It is trying to gerrymander its way into power and then take everything away from women and pretend like same-sex marriage is like the worst thing you can ever do. So before anyone goes virtual signaling me about how China treats its people, remember, US isn't doing so hot on its own either. And to that note, Australia, be aware. Be aware. This is something that, whether you're on the left, right, or centrist, where if you're a centrist, it means that you weren't paying attention, my opinion. But be aware. Fundamentally, what you're essentially telling people here in this nation, that if you don't take a stand against what the United States did to women and what China does to its Uyghur people, we're never ever going to get out of this. We need to make solid stances against humanitarian crises. And we need to talk to our First Nations people and improve their lives. and make sure their voice is heard. So that is the biggest call to vote yes in the referendum coming up to the First Nations people. Now, I want to thank everyone for turning up and being part of this. I know that it's not a fun time to be have to do this kind of thing. I understand that things are difficult, but I want to thank you for taking the time. If you're watching this on replay or live, I appreciate that effort. So, on that note, I'm going to say good night, and hopefully you'll leave me a like and a comment and have a chat with me about how I can make this content better. Thank you. Night.